So Dave, over the years, we've both gotten the opportunity to fly some business jets, including typed in a couple. I've typed in the Eclipse and the Citation, CJ line. You've got the CJ, and it's intense training. It is, very thorough, and they drill into you the procedures and how to fly the airplane, and you walk out of there feeling really very competent, at least I did, in flying the airplane. But then you quickly discover once you actually get to the airplane from the simulator is that you don't know so much. I mean, the most thing that stood out for me the most when I had the Eclipse type rating was I got to the airplane and didn't know how to open the cockpit door.
I can totally relate because I had a similar experience recently where it's like, okay, you typed in the jet and you feel like you are on top of it. You've just come through this intense training and you're never going to be more current. And then you do the pre-flight, and it's like, how do I open these access panels? Right. Where do I look for that hydraulic pump? How do I check the oil? Yep. Just the most basic things. What's the PSI in this tire supposed to be?
Right. Yeah, and they talk about that in the training. It's not like it's completely missing, but because it's usually with PowerPoint slides or something, some photos that they throw at you about those kind of systems kind of stuff. So. It's just not real world enough, and then like you say, you get out to the airplane and all of a sudden you feel kind of lost. The other one I thought, I was not prepared for the in-depth flight planning it takes to do for a high performance airplane like that. You're spoon-fed a lot of information at training, and we did one what they call loft assignment. So line-oriented flight training where you plan a trip from beginning to end, and you plan it, then you go fly it in the simulator, and it's sort of like a normal flight, right? Which normal is not something you get to experience very often in the simulator, but it did not relay, or didn't really sort of connect with the reality of when you actually get to the airplane. You got people on board, and the amount of fuel that you're going to need, and all the variables that start to happen when you begin to actually fly the airplane. And I find it challenging to kind of complete that level of flight planning that is required on a sophisticated airplane like that.
Right, and I got to say, we in the simulator we practiced all sorts of really intense instrument approaches, and always down to minimums, sometimes below minimums, and end up in missed approaches. And my first flight in the actual jet, it was clearing 1,000,000, and I was totally lost, because it's like you see the airport 20 miles away, and it's like, sure I do, and it's like you're cleared for the visual, and I just thought, wow, this is different. I hadn't actually practiced that in the sim before. It was remarkably similar to the other airplanes we fly, but it's like, wow, usually I've got a procedure for every phase, and the idea of just hand flying to the airport and landing on the runway, it seemed kind of novel.
Yeah, well, that's just it. The people flying jets get so trained on procedures and having equipment to help them and guidance and all that sort of thing, as we saw in the Asiana flight in San Francisco a few years ago. Where all of a sudden, when some of that goes away, the crews get behind the airplane and don't really know how to handle it. I guess it's a case to be made for also teaching people how to hand fly an airplane.
Right, and also it's. I remember the first time I got in the airplane in the sim, it was always cold. They kept that thing cold enough to hang meat. I mean, it was like a refrigerator. And then I get in the airplane for the first time, and it's June, and it's this sweltering day, and you come into the cockpit, and the cockpit looks familiar, but wow, it's this environment is totally different. I'm drenched in sweat while I'm trying to copy a clearance. And so that was just one of the many surprises that came after training, and I always just thought that with the intensity and expense of this training, I would be so thoroughly prepared, and I had the feeling that it's like, on some stuff I'm prepared really well. If we have a V1 cut, an engine failure at takeoff, man, I am on it. But if it's just like
a VFR descent to an airport, it's like, look out, I don't know what to do.
It's like, get out of my way, I've never done this before. Yeah, true.
Yeah. Okay, well, lots to learn from simulators, but there's also some really important to have that hands-on experience.
Right, and with the single engine, with the single pilot certificate, they require 25 hours of operational
Right.
experience, and it's like, boy, that operational experience is quite necessary.
It really is. You talk about these light jets and people having mentor pilots, and boy, that is so helpful when you've got somebody flying with you who has been there, done that, and particularly if they're a good instructor and know how to let you do your own thing and let you kind of figure it out on your own while keeping you safe. That's the really important part of it.
Yeah, the scary part of that is that once a pilot gets this rating and goes past the 25 hours, if he or she is a CFI, they are now a mentor.
Oh, wow.
So it's like,
Some
I'm
more
a legal
fun.
mentor now, but it's like I've got a long way to go before I feel like I'm really have instructional knowledge in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a real art.